Okay.
Hello, hello, greetings and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Emerald Green, pronouns are she, her, and I'm the program director here at the Block, also known as the Black Leadership and Opportunity Center at San Jose State University. We're so excited to have staff and alum here from the Bay Area Housing Internship Program, also known as BAHIP. Am I saying that correctly? Cool. And I'm going to just hand it over to these wonderful folks to tell you more about this internship opportunity. If you have questions along the way, don't forget to use the chat feature, and we'll make sure to respond to those before we end today. So welcome, Monica. Welcome, Peggy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, good morning, or good afternoon, I should say. I'm Monica Joe. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the Racial Equity and Inclusion Program Manager at the Nonprofit Housing Association of Northern California, and I am the Program Manager of BAHIP. And I'm going to introduce Loggy. You can go ahead and introduce yourself. Usually we have Peggy with us here too, but she can't join us today. But we do have an alumni. So go ahead, Loggy.
Yes. Can you hear me all right, everyone?
Yeah, it's a little quieter.
Yeah. Okay. Sometimes that happens. Let me move my laptop up. Hi, everyone. My name is Longi Tevesteyu. My pronouns are she and her. I was a part of the first cohort of the Bay Area Housing Internship Program, or BAHIP, back in 18. I currently work as an assistant project manager at Chinatown Community Development Center, based in San Francisco, but I actually did my internship at First Community Housing right by San Jose State in San Jose. And I'm excited to be here, and thanks for having me.
Great, thank you. And so we're just going to go over some of the program basics, and then we can give an opportunity to answer any questions. We'll also give an opportunity for Loggy to share her experience in the program and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. So just to give an overview of BAHIP and to see if this is something you're interested in, here's some questions. Are you hearing about how the affordable housing crisis in the Bay Area is getting pretty bad and wondering what you can do about it? Are you a student of color? And are you passionate about community and creating a better Bay Area? And if so, then we definitely have the program for you. So our program mission with BAHIP is to recruit, train, and retain housing development professionals of color to enhance inclusion and racial equity at leading nonprofit housing development organizations in the Bay Area. And what this means is that within NPH, we are a membership association. We are made up of many, many different nonprofit housing organizations in the Bay Area. We also have architects, contractors, attorneys, all kinds of folks who are involved in creating affordable housing and running it are also part of our membership too. And so BAHIP is really intended to be a program to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion within our field, as we're noticing that the people who are creating housing opportunities don't reflect the actual communities that we serve. And this sort of goes into my next piece, which is why did we even create BAHIP? As I mentioned, we have many affordable housing leaders who are working on advancing racial equity across their organization and have an interest in transforming our industry. We also see that the Bay Area itself is transforming. We're seeing, increasingly diverse communities, and we need more leaders who can actually reflect and understand and respond to these diverse communities and their needs. And then also at the same time, we're working on creating a pipeline of talent to meet the needs of the communities that we serve. As the housing crisis that's ahead of us is so huge, and we need all the help that we can get. So we decided to create this internship program. Also, just a little bit of background, we modeled our program off of the California Coalition for Rural Housing. They have their internship program, which has the same program goals as ours, and that's been running for over 20 years. And over half of the folks who went through their internship are now working in the field. So they're a great model to follow. And they're still running their internship program today. So we do a lot of partnership with them. And it's just really great to have a model that was super successful that we could follow. And so just to give an overview of BAHIP. So what we're preparing for is going to be our 4th program year. And we have host agencies that are from across the entire Bay Area. We've got San Francisco, East Bay, South Bay, and North Bay. And the program is an entire year. So it's going to be full-time starting in the summer in June 2021. And then once we hit the fall, then it'll be part-time for all of our interns to have their hours happen in between their classes or whenever they're available, and then running up until next May 2022. And this is a paid internship program, which is hard to find and hard to come across. And our starting wage is $18 an hour. However, we do have host agencies that do decide to pay more than that. So the starting pay is $18 an hour, which is great and it's competitive. And then just to share a little bit of program success, we have actually had 13 out of our 19 program graduates who are now working full-time in the field. So even in our first few years of this program, we've also been super successful, and it's really great to see that we're still growing. So our BAHIP interns are all students of color, as part of our program goal to advance racial equity, diversity, and inclusion. And we do focus on undergraduate students who are entering their last year of college in 2021. And this is intentional so that once students are finishing up the internship, then they're finishing up their studies and then they can get hired right away into the field. This is really a career development program. We do look for students who have a low-income background, and in our application, I'll talk a little bit more about the statement of purpose, which is an opportunity for you to share if you have personal experience with housing instability or unaffordability. That's something we're actually looking for, and it's a huge asset to our field to have people who actually come from the communities that we're trying to support. And as far as the majors that we look for, all majors are welcome in the program, but we do tend to see a lot of students come from the social sciences or urban studies. Those are the majors that we do tend to see, but it's open to any and all majors. And really this program is designed so that with the understanding that some of our interns have no background in affordable housing whatsoever, no knowledge, no understanding, and that's totally okay. Basically, you just have to come with an interest in learning how to develop affordable housing. And our host agencies, they are all nonprofit, mission-driven Bay Area organizations who are all committed to developing affordable housing. So if you were ever wondering, how does affordable housing get built? These are all the agencies that are working furiously behind the scenes to make these buildings happen and run them. And they're all agencies that have committed to transforming their organizations and centering racial equity and racial justice. That's a huge part of the commitment to be a part of the program. So just to give an overview of how the program works, we have 3 program parties. We have the BAHIP intern, we have their host agency, which is where they will primarily be working, and then NPH, we are the program manager. So we're giving support sort of behind the scenes to make sure that the intern and the host agency's experience runs smoothly. We also do the recruitment process, the selection process, and support the interview process, and then whatever is needed throughout the program year. And I'll get a little bit more into that in a bit. Here's some examples of things that our interns do while they're on the job. And this is not an exhaustive list. There's so many things that an intern will encounter and do throughout the program year, but here's just some examples. So some of our interns participate in planning meetings with the architect and property management to help create the building design. You get to apply for funding and help to secure loans for new affordable housing developments. So in order to create affordable housing, sometimes you have to put together 10 different funding sources and put those all together to make the building happen. So there's a lot of different dynamics at play. Our interns also get to participate in construction meetings with contractors once you're getting ready for that phase of the project, which is super exciting. And then some other tasks include participating and helping facilitate community meetings about proposed developments. I've been talking with our interns from this year, and these community meetings are still happening virtually. So they still get to continue in this space that we're in. And then helping to secure new land and property. Sometimes organizations are looking at a piece of land and wondering, is this worth investing in? Is this something that we could see a new housing development on? And the interns get to sort of help make that assessment. And then on that note, really analyzing the community needs, conducting different studies to see if this is feasible to do. So like I said, this isn't the limit of what interns are able to do. There's so much more that the interns get to get their hands on. And just to share, we have a strong support network to help the interns all along the way. So while the interns are spending the majority of their time at their host agency, there's so many people who are part of our network that are helping them have a successful program year along the way. This includes our advisory committee, and this is made up of professionals in the field. And we also even have a professor on the committee who is helping with recruitment. And these are the folks who really helped to create the program in the first place and are just making sure it runs smoothly. So some familiar faces in there that you would meet throughout the year. And now each of our interns are paired with a mentor. So this mentor is somebody who is not at their host agency, who is a professional of color in the field. And it's somebody who can just give them some emotional and professional support throughout the year. If you're having challenges in your internships, then they're just a great person to lean on. And we've really heard from our interns that this is a critical piece for the success of their internship. So it's really wonderful. We have so many people in our network that really want to support the next level of leadership. And then as we are graduating more and more cohorts, we have our alumni network is just growing and growing. And a lot of the folks who have been through the program, they want to come back and help recruit more interns and, you know, get together and build treasured memories with each other and still like follow each other in their careers along the way. So it's really wonderful. And then as far as what NPH supports to the interns, so we conduct regular check-ins with all of the interns on a monthly basis, or if that needs to happen more often, we can do that. And then we also convene the cohort together. So we really operate this program in a cohort style. Even though the interns are all at different agencies, they're still getting together regularly to check in, how is the internship going? And then we provide additional trainings for them and team building opportunities. So sometimes there's certain skills or certain people that we would want the interns to meet. We just had a session where the interns got to meet 2 architects and kind of hear from them, like how their work goes, how they think about designing affordable housing. So we give them those sort of enrichment opportunities in addition to their day-to-day work. And then also, we're here to support the job search after the internship, which is something that our current interns are thinking about right now. So we're here to help. And just to give an overview of how the program year sort of flows. So we start off with orientation and provide some summer trainings in July. And this is to really help all of the interns get up to speed on things that they might need to know going into the internship. And, you know, last year we did it virtually, so you can see this picture here. And basically, like I said before, if you have absolutely no knowledge of affordable housing beforehand, that's totally okay. We do our best to try to get everybody up to speed over the summer. And then also an opportunity for the cohort to meet each other too. And then on the NPH side of things, we actually host our own events and networking opportunities across the year, and all of our interns get to go to any NPH sponsored event for free. And this also includes our huge conference, which happens every fall. And normally in person, this conference would have 1,000+ attendees. It's going to be virtual this year, but it's really a great opportunity for the interns to meet people in the field and to just hear about different topics that we're facing as housers. And it's really exciting that they get to be a part of it too. And then outside of those events, we also just have monthly trainings, like I mentioned before. So the cohort gets together pretty regularly to check in and then to learn a new skill together. And these skills have ranged from understanding project management, thinking about with the local government, how they get involved in affordable housing. And we've also done some workplace skill development, like resume, interview skill building, how to navigate in a workplace, which is something you don't always get taught. And so that's a really wonderful opportunity to keep learning. And then we do have a Midwinter Retreat, which is more of like an intensive training that happens in January. That's going to be like the halfway point in the internship year, where you get to do you know, a review of a lot of skills that you were building at the beginning, and just is an opportunity for everybody to get back together again, kind of like a little retreat getaway in Sacramento. And then everything the interns are expected to kind of keep track of the work that they're doing so that they can create a final portfolio of all the work that they've done. And we present these portfolios at their graduation and have them posted on our website. So you can always take a look at previous year's portfolios. And like I said, we have all kinds of other trainings and networking opportunities with NPH that we host that all of our interns get to go to. And then lastly, graduation, which takes place in May. And it's just a wonderful community event where everybody in our network gets to celebrate the great work of the interns. And it's just a really positive vibe. So yeah, it's just that all the hard work sort of pays off in the end. So just wanted to share some updates that we have done to the program due to COVID-19 and thinking about this as possibly starting off as a virtual internship this next program year. So we will have our summer trainings will be virtual, and all of our interns will likely get onboarded virtually. We've talked to the host agencies and they're all prepared. They're creating their plans for when they're going to start having people back into the office. So just to share with everybody that our internship is going to start off virtual, but then might gradually become an in-person internship depending on where we're at with COVID. But you know, with Zoom now, we've been able to have more frequent trainings. And then we've also been able to get together more often because distance isn't an issue. But yeah, I just wanted to flag that for anyone if they were wondering if this was a virtual internship, it will start off virtual. And then we were able to do some more intentional networking. All of our interns are on Discord, if you've heard of that, as a chat platform where they can stay in touch with each other since they can't meet in person, and just giving more alumni and mentor support. So to go over the application timeline, our application is now open on our website, which is at nonprofithousing.org/BAHIP. It's due on Friday, April 16th at midnight. And currently our application is as a Google form, but if you want to request a Word doc version, you can definitely email me and I can send that to you. And we have a much more extensive program description also on our website that everybody should review before they get into it. It has a little bit more of the details that you might want to review before you apply. And then as part of the application, we do have some required attachments. One of them is a resume. So it's an opportunity to show your skills and your experience that are relevant to the internship. And then the statement of purpose is a really important part of the application. And as I shared here, it's a chance to get personal. So please use that opportunity to share what is your housing story, or maybe part of your personal background that has made you interested in this internship opportunity. Share about how this internship supports your future career goals and how that fits in with the program. So really, if you're interested in applying, please take the time to really shine through your statement of purpose. We do also ask for a copy of an unofficial transcript, which you can download on your student portals usually for, I think, most schools. And if there's any challenges with that, you can reach out to me. And then lastly, we do ask for 2 letters of recommendation. We've tried to simplify this by having the recommending person, they can submit it through Google Forms. So they don't have to have a formalized letter that they sign on letterhead, but they can fill out a Google form. So please reach out to folks who know you well and who can give a positive recommendation for you. And then lastly, I just want to go through the timeline. So as I mentioned before, our application is open and it closes on April 16th. After that, then in late April, we're going to put together and score some of our finalists so that they can have interviews with the host agency and with me as well. And then we're preparing to do our final selection of interns and matching them with our host agencies by mid-May so that the intern can then get started in June. So yeah, really excited for what's ahead. And now I'm going to pass it on to Wagi. And I'm just gonna stop sharing so you guys can see her. Oh, I think you're muted.
Okay, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thanks Monica for the presentation. That was a great trip down memory lane. But I forgot to mention during my introduction that I'm also an SJ alumni, in addition to being a BAHIP alumni. So I'm really happy that Monica invited me to this, and Emerald is kind of facilitating this informational meeting because my experience during BAHIP it was really just life-changing, to be honest. I started in 2017 and ended in 2018. And throughout just that year of the internship, I had a lot of technical training, and then applying the technical training that you're learning throughout like all the work that you're doing. And I'm glad that Monica emphasized that you don't have to have prior knowledge of what housing development is or kind of what that entails, because I honestly didn't. I was a sociology major. I just knew I wanted to, you know, contribute to some positive like social change. And so I thought housing development would be a great way to do it, but I honestly felt like I didn't have the skills, and BAHIP provided that in such a encouraging way too. We got exposure to like the development process of affordable housing development at different phases. We got to practice with like financial projections, which prior to this internship, I didn't even know what it was. So you get to get familiar with like the numbers and budgets of certain projects. And it's really interesting to see like how those numbers are actually applied to the project once you are assigned with a project or supporting one could say. You're not completely assigned something, you're more so supporting and shadowing your project manager at your host agency. In addition to like mentor shadowing with your project manager, you get to like meet with the executive director and kind of learn what that looks like and what certain connections they try to make sure that the housing is being built and whatnot. And then I know Monica mentioned the networking opportunities that you get when you're at like either the conferences or even the trainings that they literally cater to our cohort. Like they'll grab all these experts in the field and bring them to just our cohort. So there's like this really, oh, sorry, my dog is crying. Chico. He's okay, I think he's okay. Okay. So yeah, the networking opportunities. I was speaking about the trainings that we get that really feel intimate, because again, your cohort can be like 10 to 15 individuals, and you're getting to speak with like 2 really great experts, and then you get to ask like all the questions that you want, and they're super supportive, and you really feel that like support from them, and they really just want to help in any way that they can. They also offer like continued support. So while you're going through your internship, they're really happy when you like follow up and ask them questions that apply specifically to your project, which is really, really helpful in the long run. And then we also got to like participate in really cool events, like groundbreaking events, which if you are a part of the program, you'll learn what that is. But in addition to those, you just kind of get to be exposed to a whole bunch of an array of events that your host agency participates in, and they usually love inviting the BAHIP interns just so they can get exposed to what the housing industry looks like. And personally, one of my favorite aspects of this internship is the close-knit support that you get from your cohort. You get to meet them, like Monica says, in the beginning of the internship, through your training, and then throughout your entire internship, you're meeting up with them monthly. You get to like see them at the conference. And honestly, my cohort, we got so close that we were just texting each other every day and like linking up for, I don't know, random things to vent and to learn from each other's challenges and to work through any of those challenges that you may be facing through one another's experience. And then you just get to have fun with one another, and who like doesn't like that. And another one of my favorite things is that this internship really allows a platform for communities of color, especially students of color, to kind of step into their power by giving them a seat at this table of people who make really important decisions for affordable housing development projects. And I didn't know how much power that we have in the positions that we do get, but you just get a whole bunch of exposure to like how the development process works and how you can contribute into it, and again, bring your voice and your value to the team in any capacity that they allow you to, and they're usually very excited to hear what you can bring to the table. So overall, my experience was amazing. I'm like the biggest BAHIP advocate. If I could get BAHIP tatted on me, I probably would. I started at my host agency at First Community Housing, which is in downtown San Jose, and then moved to the city and worked as a housing development assistant at Chinatown Community Development Center, and then got promoted within just 6 months to assistant project manager. And I really do give a lot of the kudos to BAHIP for giving me that foundation and that base knowledge that you really need to like execute this job. And one thing I love about not only this like position, but just this industry is it's okay to not know what you don't know. Like even project managers that I'm working with, they still ask questions. And so I want to emphasize that to just let you know that if there are questions that you have, it's okay to have them. In fact, like use that to your advantage as a opportunity to grow and learn. And again, BAHIP does an excellent job at providing you those tools to ask those questions and to navigate through like, you know, any challenges that you may be facing. So that is kind of my piece. If you guys have any questions, or I can turn it back to Monica if she had anything else to add after.
I do want to give you a shout out, Augie. You can share a little bit about the student advocacy that you were able to do during the internship, or she got to be on TV, which was super cool. So there's just other opportunities, even outside of just like the day-to-day projects that you're working on, to really, you know, get out there and support affordable housing too. Yeah, I don't know if you want to share about that at all.
I don't toot my own horn, but Proposition that was being passed in the city of San Jose, it was Prop C at the time. Yeah, Prop C. And once you get into this industry, you'll learn how dependent we are on like local funds, state funding, federal funding. And so that was an opportunity to like voice my support for the local funding that was on the ballot that year. And so they had asked me to like speak to kind of the greater community of San Jose to give them my experience of, you know, not only being a student, but being a part of the BAHIP internship, which we get to like dip our toes in like affordable housing development. And during my speech, I kind of gave like, one thing I do remember is letting them know that prior to this internship, I didn't even know what it took to create a building, let alone like these multi-level affordable housing developments. But once you learn what goes on behind the curtain, you really have like to support your local funding. And so that was my point, is that it takes a lot to go into these housing projects that are ultimately going to house like low income families and different vulnerable populations. And one way to support that is to vote through those propositions. And that was part of my like advocacy shine or limelight.
For sure. Yeah. And the other reason why I bring that up too is, you know, if you're hearing about BAHIP and you're just like, you know, I don't think I could commit to an internship like that, or just like might not be the right opportunity for you, just to share that as NPH, you know, we're trying to support the voice of affordable housing across the Bay Area. And so there's all kinds of ways that we need people to get involved in the fight for affordable housing. And so, you know, I'm also here to just promote the whole field. There's a whole field of folks who are working on different parts of affordable housing, even if it's not development. We need all kinds of people who are tackling the issue. So thanks for having us here to speak with you guys today. And yeah, does anyone have any questions about the program or anything at the moment?
So Monica, one thing I did want to add, because you brought that up, was BAHIP also does an excellent job at giving you the exposure to the development field, but they also support your like decision. If you say you go to a couple of resident meetings and you're more interested in like property management or resident services or asset management, basically all the other departments that are under the umbrella of affordable housing development, they also support your career path if you're, you go through that throughout the year of the program and find out like development might not be your thing, but you're really attracted to what resident services team does. They help you bridge that gap and give you the connection to other departments, which is also super helpful.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, does anyone have any questions, or even Emerald, if you have questions too, because you're hearing about it?
I just want to say first, thank you. And Lagi, it sounds like you had an amazing experience and were able to do some really cool things post cohort experience. So I really just want to encourage the 3 students that we have on call right now. You have access to these amazing women. They can share maybe more about the application experience or the cohort experience. And so just be thinking about using this time to get whatever thoughts or ideas you have out now, because you can speak directly to some folks that are invested. So please, if you don't want to come off mute, go ahead and put your thoughts in the chat so that we can just hold space to hear you. We'd love to hear your voice and of course love to see your face, but definitely we'll welcome the questions in the chat.
Sorry, this is a side note, but I'm really excited to hear that SJSU has, is it called the Block now? Is it on campus? That's amazing. It wasn't there when I was there, so I'm happy to hear about that.
Yeah, I'm an alum as well, and it was also not there, but our former name was the African American Student Success Center. And just in this last year or a couple months, students and the last program director organized themselves to really think intentionally about a name that fit our community and fit where students were. And so we are now known as the Block.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, I definitely know that oh, we have a question. Yes, Jordan, heck yeah. I'm gonna allow Monica and Lagi to respond directly.
Sure thing. So the interview process, essentially what we're going to do is we are looking for certain aspects in your application, and we'll be scoring all of the applications first, and then after we do that and figure out what the top candidates are for each of the host agencies, you're only going to be interviewing with the host agencies that you indicated on your application that you're interested in. And often that's based on like geography, or if there's a certain agency that works with a certain population that you're interested in, like, feel free to indicate that on your application. But the first round of interviews is just going to be with me, just as a phone screen, just so I can get to know you a little bit more as a candidate, allow you to share anything that didn't make it into your application that you just want to share about yourself as a candidate. And then from there, then I will send all of the finalists to the host agency, and they are the ones who arrange their interview with you. And so some of the questions that they would ask you, they don't expect you to know anything about affordable housing development. It's more just to see, what is your interest in this field, and I think something specifically that they really want to narrow down is to ensure that you know that this is an internship that's rooted in affordable housing real estate development. So that's something that I definitely want to emphasize here today, because some interns or some candidates are more interested in other aspects of housing, which is great, but this internship is more specifically for real estate development side of things. So I think that they're really trying to make sure that that's made clear. And then, outside of that, it's just like a regular interview process that I think a lot of folks have possibly gone through before if you've ever applied for a job. And I believe that most of our schools have some kind of like career center support if you need some help preparing for that interview, or if you reach out to any of us and you need help preparing for that. But I should also mention too that as part of the selection process, we do have our interns go through a writing exercise and then an Excel exercise. So I know Lagi mentioned that there's a lot of like spreadsheets that you work through the internship, because there's all these funding sources and everything. So we do have an exercise as part of the interview where it's basically to sort of test your knowledge of following directions on Excel. So you don't have to know anything about finance. There's going to be numbers on the sheet, and it might seem intimidating, but it's really more of an exercise to see, if you're given these directions to make these add these things into different cells in Excel, like, can you follow that? So that just wanted to give you a heads up that that's also part of it too. Loggy, do you remember like your interview process and how that was and everything?
Yes, I remember that damn Excel sheet. And it, like she said, don't feel too intimidated by it, because I personally did not work with Excel too much prior to my interview. I didn't even know there was going to be an Excel like sheet, so it was kind of a shock to me, but I did my best, and it wasn't as like hard as I thought it was. In fact, I was more so like second guessing myself, but in the end, I like, now that I know what I was doing now, I probably was doing it right. But just to emphasize that when you do go to your interview, just bring your strengths to it, because that's kind of what I did. I didn't know what like real estate development was or affordable housing. I kind of had an idea, but all I knew at the time was like, I wanted to bring about social change. So I brought my passion to my interview and kind of let them know that even though I'm not too familiar with the process, I'm willing to learn, in the sake of just contributing to greater social change. And, luckily they heard that, and, I got the call back. So it's not as intimidating as it might sound, since it sounds like there's a lot of processes, but it's definitely worth it in the end. And through that interview process, you get to learn like what like how like filtered they're trying to be. Like, they want to just make sure that you're like committed to the work that you're being signed up for, really, not the technical knowledge that entails to do the actual work that you're doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then the interviews themselves are usually done by the supervisor that's going to be assigned to support the intern, and then members from that real estate development team. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. It's probably more of an answer than what you were looking for. How big is each cohort? Okay, yeah, this is actually a great question because the size of our cohort has shifted with each year. The first cohort, they were 12, and then we had a cohort of 9 with 7 who graduated. Our current cohort is 10. And then for this coming cohort, we have 8 agencies that are lined up to support an intern. So we'll probably have a cohort of 8 for the next one. Yeah, that's a good question though.
Yeah.
Intimate. Yeah, and then also, like, I think I shared that we partner with the rural internship program quite a bit, and they have a cohort around the same size as ours. So then there's even more peers in the mix that you can lean on for support too.
Right, and it's great to have like a great range of, or just a big number of cohort, because you get a great range of experiences. Like in my cohort, I was working in San Jose, but I had 2 like friends who were working in the city, and then one in San Rafael, the other in like Palo Alto. So you got to hear like how different our experiences were, but sometimes similar challenges that, we again talked through and worked through, and got to understand how different like the geography is in not only the geography, like the housing community is in that certain location. And so it's just kind of fun to learn from your cohort through their experiences.
I guess. Yes, Aaliyah. Yes, come off mute. Hey, please ask your question.
I had a question. So you mentioned at the beginning that the internship will be mainly online, but are there going to be chances? I know it's like kind of a weird question, but are there chances that we would be able to like interact with our cohort like in person, or?
Yeah, so in a non-COVID year, you would be completely working in person, and then every time the cohort gets together, that would be also in person. So because we don't know what the situation looks like for once the program year starts in June, right now we're playing it safe and assuming that all the interns will start virtually, but will eventually transition to an in-person internship at some point in the year. It might be in the fall, or it might be later. We just don't know based on COVID, but our hope is that we can get the cohort in person together many times throughout the program year. So that's kind of, fingers crossed, what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Reflecting back.
oh,
Sorry, Ilya.
oh no, go ahead, sorry.
I was just thinking, reflecting back on how like close knit my cohort got to be. I feel like on a more informal like basis, we would probably like hit each other up if we were okay. Like if COVID was going on at that time, okay to meet up. I feel like we would. So you just get that opportunity to like, you know, just connect on a more personal, but then also like professional level if you guys bring your discussion of work to your conversation.
Does that answer your question, Aaliyah?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I was also wondering, do you guys work with other cohorts, or is it just like a single cohort? Like, do you guys ever interact with like the Hayward cohort, or, you know, like, do you guys ever work with them, or is it just you stick to your one community?
Oh, I see. I think so actually, of the 8 interns that we're going to have for this year, they're all going to be located in different parts of the Bay Area. So we're going to have like one San Jose intern, one Palo Alto intern, one Hayward intern, one San Francisco intern, and everybody's placed at different agencies across the Bay Area. So the cohort is going to be made up of 8 interns who are at some agency in some part of the Bay Area, and that's that cohort. But we do also have our cohort of interns in the Bay Area who interact with the rural interns, and they are placed in like Stockton and Sacramento, and even like in Oregon and Washington. They're like all over the West Coast in rural parts of the West. And so we have the interns support each other. And then also something that I didn't get into, but I can share a little bit about too, is we have within NPH our Emerging Leaders Peer Network. And this is a subset of our NPH membership, which is just for people who are in like their first like 10 years of their career. This is a network that provides trainings and networking that is specifically for people who are new to the field. And all of our interns, we encourage them to get involved there too, because then they can be with folks who are also like around the same part of their career. And they do a lot of really fun events as well. Another thing that our interns have access to. Does that sort of answer your question, Aaliyah?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great.
Monica,
Any
if
other
folks
questions?
if folks have questions about like, I'm working on my application, I need some additional support, or you said this right in the recording, can you speak more to this? Where can they reach you, or can they connect with you and Lagi on the side? Can you share some more information maybe in the chat, but then also verbally?
Yes, I'm typing my email address in the chat. Is monica@nonprofithousing.org. I think Lagi is also putting hers in there too. Yeah, please feel free to reach out to us. We also, one of the great things about our advisory committee is they also have volunteered themselves in the past to help people with their application. Professors, we have a whole network of professors at the different universities, like they can also help you with your application too. And then I also do encourage applicants, if they've never written a resume or if they've never had an interview, please reach out to the Career Center also at your school, because they can help get you prepared for that too. So yeah.
Yeah, please feel free to hit me up. I really commend you three for, you know, showing up today and being present and bringing your questions. I put my email in there. It's my work email, but I check it all the time because I have to. So I will be looking out for any 3 of your names should you guys have any questions about anything, to be honest. And I think we have questions. Based on your experience, how much time a week would you devote to internship? Awesome. That's a good question. So actually I was going, it was my last semester of school while I was finishing my internship. So I think I had only 18 to 20 hours that I devoted to the BAHIP internship, while like still, I think at the time I had like 21 units because I was trying to graduate. It was kind of crazy. So I really did just kind of, I mean, if that gives you any context, like I did have a lot of units, I did have a lot of weight, but for some, again, that support that BAHIP offers, they don't like throw you in the water. They give you all the tools to like maneuver through that. And then the support of your networks and your cohort also helps you go through that. I graduated, I managed school, I hope that gives you some context too. But the cool thing about that is they're pretty flexible. You can talk to your host agency and say you do try to do the 18 hours a week and it's just like not working out for you. They're more than happy to adjust that for you, and then they'll work maybe on a work plan that will make sure that you're giving them the support that they're looking for, while also prioritizing your schoolwork, because they understand that your school does come first, and that this internship is just helping you develop, like after graduation. So I wouldn't be too afraid of like the balance. And again, I feel like BAHIP does a great job at giving you the tools again that you need to make sure that balance isn't off.
Yeah, and I would also just add that all of our agencies that we're having for this year, they've all hosted several interns before. And so they know to anticipate like midterms and finals. And if you have like a big paper coming up and you're just like, I don't think I can do as many hours this week, they'll be flexible about it and you can just work closely with them. So yeah, great question.
Yeah, that is a great question. I think I remember during finals week, I took like a week and a half off and they were totally fine with it because again, they were anticipating it. In fact, they asked me for my final schedule like while I started, because they understand how important our studies are.
Such amazing questions. Any more ways that these two beautiful women can be helpful? Go ahead and put your thoughts in the chat or come off mute. You all are doing such a great job, and the students that review this recording are going to be really appreciative, I'm sure, of the questions that you all asked. So thanks for going ahead and doing that. And we're just going to maybe take a little bit more, maybe a minute or two, to see if you have any other thoughts or questions that they can speak to.
I'm curious to know how you three found out about the BAHIP internship and what interested you about it. If you're open sharing.
Hi, my name is Jalen. So I found out through Miss Green. She sent out an email. I was really interested because I want to work in the nonprofit sector. And I'm also thinking about going to law school. So I just wanted to dip my toe into different things. And I thought it would be a really good opportunity to see what you guys have to offer.
That's amazing.
Very cool.
Hi. What interests me about this program was just the fact that you guys are kind of like trying to make changes for housing, because I do know like living in the Bay Area is so expensive, and even when my family lived here and my parents they worked in education and they could barely afford it. And I just think it's crazy how regular people, like many of my friends, like just regular people can't afford to live here as much, or they're barely getting by. And I feel like programs like this is so important because they're helping making this area more affordable for people that should live here and should be able to live here. So I just thought that was very interesting. And also I saw this last year and I was really interested. So yeah.
That's great.
So similar to Jalen, I also found out about this through an email. So through an email. And so that's what sparked my interest. And also too, last semester, I kind of got a little bit involved in like the San Jose city council meetings, like towards affordable housing and those types of things, especially with the legislation. So that's really what sparked my interest. And then the email really pushed me forward to meeting with you guys as well today.
That's awesome. Stay involved there. There's a lot happening in San Jose. So yeah, that's great.
Well, thank y'all for reading your emails. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited that we could get you all connected to this space, right? Because sometimes that's half the battle between seeing an opportunity and taking it. And so just shout out to you three for however you got here. I also hear some of you knew about this and maybe it wasn't right the timing, or maybe now you're sure, right? And so however you got here, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And I truly hope that you all apply. I personally love to know that you applied so that I can connect with Monica and make sure that she's aware that we have 3 potential San Jose State Spartans that are highly interested. And I think it's all about networking, right? And building that social capital. So would love to support you all in any way that we can here at the block. And definitely, Monica is spot on. If you need some additional support with your materials, feel free to reach out to me personally. Feel free to also connect with the Career Center or the Writing Center. Definitely, we have some great campus partners that are helping students. And now's the time, right, to be securing internships. So please don't delay, don't hesitate. If you know this is something that you're interested in, definitely put your hat in the ringer. And if those are all the questions, I definitely, again, want to just say thank you, Monica and Lagi, for your time, for your amazing conversation, right? And just hearing the takeaways from the program. It really sounds like a great opportunity that we definitely want students, more Spartans, to know about. So however we can be a part of that journey with you all, definitely let us know. Just so you all know, Jalen, Jordan, and Aaliyah, we're gonna publicize this on our YouTube, and then I'm gonna send this recording back out to everyone that we invited to this space. So definitely no worries if you missed the content, or if you're wanting to use it later, we will make sure that you have access to it. And so I hope that you all have a wonderful, amazing weekend and Friday. And just thank you again to holding space with us here at the block. I look forward to working with you all, and good luck as candidates in the process.
Yeah, thanks so much.